Delusion, a false belief or judgment about external reality. Or as I like to think of it, fans of these 12 AFC teams not named Kansas City Chiefs. The AFC is an absolute loaded bloodbath next year. I don't think I need to tell you that. But with all these teams getting better, all that means is not every team can make the playoffs. So let's see my opinion on these teams. I've decided to divide these teams into tiers. We have the absolute no chance tier. This is where the Raiders, Broncos, Chargers, Patriots, and Titans all stand. But then we have above that, and the teams I want to talk about, every team above that, probably not. But delusions start here, and that's where we're going to start with. And I want to start with the Indianapolis Colts. This team showed a lot of potential early on last year if Anthony Richardson was on the team. But this man could not stay healthy, and I know he went through the shoulder surgery. There's no guarantee he could stay healthy, though. He could not finish out games. It felt like every week Anthony Richardson was getting pulled and eventually was out for the year. Combine that with they had such an easy schedule last year. They're not running that schedule back. I feel like teams are going to figure it out a bit. There's a chance that the Colts completely missed the playoffs, despite what most people believe got better on paper, and the Texans got significantly better. Next team I want to talk about in this tier is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Last year they had an absolutely historic collapse, going from 8-3 with a 99% chance of making the playoffs to finishing 9-8 and completely missing the playoffs. The Jacksonville Jaguars are a team that did not get better this offseason. Adding Gabe Davis is not a move that's going to move the needle for me because I think Ridley was better than Gabe Davis, and they did nothing to address the offensive line. They actually brought people back. They want to run it back with this unit. This unit is awful. They let Lawrence die out there. Speaking of Trevor Lawrence, we have not seen this man play more than 8 weeks of good football. He has that one end of the season, and that's what he's living off of. He's played below average to really bad football, and I'll give him pass on his rookie year, which was really, really bad. But overall, what am I supposed to do to trust this team when their quarterback has played 8 good weeks that he is running off of? 8 weeks. Up next is a team that kind of inspired me to make this video, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are a team that exists, and a team that will go 9-8. Is 9-8 good enough to make the playoffs in the AFC this year? Probably not. And the Steelers fans want to say, well, we upgraded at quarterback. You didn't make the significant upgrade. You have 2 below average quarterbacks. Fields and Russell Wilson are not these game-changing quarterbacks. You went 9-8, or was it 10-7? You had a winning record last year. Good for you. Round of applause. Good job, Steelers. You had so many fluky wins. Your Browns game, your Ravens game. You're looking at those 2 games, now we're looking at this team the exact same way. And I like the Russ signing. Don't get me wrong. You got him for really cheap. And I like the Fields trade because you also got him for really cheap. And I like the Patrick Queen signing. But this team, I don't know how to feel about them. Their offense, I'm looking at this offense, and the run game is fine. I like Jaylen Warren, and I like Najee Harris. But outside of George Pickens, they have no one to throw to. And I know they can draft people because this video is being recorded before the draft. But that doesn't mean that he's going to instantly come in and make an instant impact. They're sitting at pick 20. They're going to have to trade up to get a guy like Marv, Neighbors, or a Doomsday. They're just not that good of a team, and their record didn't reflect about how they actually played. If you watch a Steelers game, you would have never believed this team won 10 games last year. So why am I supposed to believe that they're going to win 10 games again with a relatively similar roster, especially offensively? All right, moving on to the next tier, we have the first round exit tiers. These are teams that I believe will, if they make the playoffs, will not be first round exits. And I think the first team that I'm going to mention is going to be maybe a bit of a hot take. And their fan base is not going to like it. And that's the Buffalo Bills. The Bills lost so much this offseason. But the only thing that's keeping them from no chance is effective the second best quarterback in the league, Josh Allen. He's not Mahomes level, but he's incredibly good. This team is lost without Josh Allen. Their entire game plan with their overrated and fraudulent offensive coordinator, yeah, I said it, Bills fans, is let Josh Allen do everything. Let Josh Allen do everything. It's literally let Josh Allen do everything. Trade away his best receiver. Literally, they are not helping him. Get rid of the entire defense. I know they were in a bad cap situation, but they did not approach this offseason in the correct way. You had a bunch of veterans who would have liked to stay probably, would have taken pay cuts. They approached it badly because the Bills don't realize how to build a team. They've continued to just say, Josh Allen do it all. Josh Allen do it all. This team went 11-6 and was about 1 loss away and got super lucky during that 6-game win streak to get into the playoffs. And you see where I'm coming with here. Can Josh Allen do it all? I don't believe it. He can win the games in the regular season. Come playoff time, though, if Josh Allen doesn't play a flawless game against some of the top teams in the AFC, they're not moving on past the wildcard round. Next up is a team with the exact opposite problem of the Buffalo Bills on this tier, and it's the Browns. They have everything. They have a pretty good receiving core. great tight end, great running back, great offensive line, elite defense. They don't have the quarterback. Deshaun Watson is one of the worst quarterbacks in the league starting. He has ran off his own name value alone, which is not something that I would like to be saying about him. He only has one good half under his belt as a Cleveland Brown, and that's the Ravens game. He played great that game, don't get me wrong, but are we really going to judge a quarterback off one good half? Zach Wilson has one good game under his belt. Well, he actually has like 3 good games. We all see how Zach Wilson is doing. And with that, I just don't trust him. When you get to the playoffs, he can win you regular season games, sure, but any quarterback can, really. That's what separates them. And with this great team, they can bail him out. Come playoff time, though, what are they going to do when they need to step up? Let's say they're walking into Cincinnati, walking into Baltimore, walking into Arrowhead. Somehow KC doesn't get the first round bye. It's like, this is just a hypothetical. They're walking into those games, and Deshaun Watson needs to step up. He's not going to, and this is where the problem comes in. On the next tier, I call it playoff push potential, but it could have just been called the AFC East. And the first team on is the Miami Dolphins. This team is very interesting, and it's my favorite team. So it's going to hurt a little bit to talk down about this team and why they won't make the playoff. But here it goes. The roster, great. Tyreek Hill, elite. The edge rushers, great. The corner duo, great. Safeties, pretty good. Running game, elite. Tua hasn't been able to step in big games. Many times the Dolphins needed him to step up and win us a big game, and he hasn't. Especially last year, that was a major problem. He's got one quality win last year, and that was against Dallas. When I say quality, I mean team of play. The Broncos game's obviously a quality win, but like in terms of like actual like record and all that, Dallas is the only game that he's got. You get what I mean? Okay. The problem has been, though, that he cannot step up in these games. He has continuously collapsed, and the O-line has been exposed. These are the 2 weakest links of this team, and what is holding this team back. But Tua is better than Deshaun Watson. And I feel like a good Tua performance, couple good Tua performances, when I say good, I mean like what he does against bad teams. What he does against bad teams, absolutely phenomenal. He can do that against a good team. We're talking a playoff push. We're not beating the Chiefs, though, being so honest here. Up next is a team that got a lot of hype last offseason, is now getting a lot of hype this offseason, and that's the New York Jets. I have fully dove into the New York Jets hype. Like, I am pushing my chips in. This team's going to be good next year. Injuries. That's it. This team is great, but can I trust the team to stay healthy? Absolutely not. First of all, they play in the worst stadium if you want to maintain health. MetLife is horrible. And then you combine that with Tyron Smith, injury prone. Morgan Moses, injury prone. Mike Williams, injury prone. Breece Hall has an ACL tear already under his belt. Aaron Rodgers just suffered an injury. This is what scares me. I don't believe this team will be fully healthy in the playoffs. Also, Aaron Rodgers is 40. And you can only do so much when you're 40. He's not Brady. He never will be Brady. He's always just going to be a playoff choker. And that scares me about the Jets. His playoff choking, he's only older. He's going to do it in his MVP years with Devontae Adams. I really like Garrett Wilson, but he's no prime Devontae Adams. Yeah, that's my problem with the Jets. Moving on. On to our second highest tier, which could match up with KC. Obviously, the top tier is Chiefs. You don't get any better. They're the back-to-back Super Bowl champions. They are the team to beat. But this video isn't called Who Can Dethrone the Chiefs. It's your favorite team might not make the playoffs. And this is what I'm going to talk about these teams. You ready? Ravens. You don't want to hear Ravens fans. I know it. You won the AFC last year. You only lost to KC by, it was either a possession or 2 possessions. You feel like you can do it. Your team only got worse, though. You peaked there. You lost Geno Stone. You lost Odell. You lost Patrick Queen, who was a second-team All-Pro. These are notable losses here. And then you combine that with the fact that you lose offensive linemen. There's so much that the Ravens lost, and they only got worse. And who knows if their scheme's going to translate next year. Remember, Lamar's MVP season is one of the weakest we've ever seen. That might not fly again for a top seed record. And like I said, your division's better. It's only better than it was last year. And last year it was really good. What if this team just goes from first to worst? It's not impossible, considering they got worse and their division got better. That's what scares me about Baltimore. Up next on this tier is the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals, the only reason they're on this tier is because they are the only team to have beaten Mahomes in the AFC playoffs. And Joe Burrow is the only quarterback to beat him currently in the league. Tom Brady's the other one in the playoffs. There have been Aiden O'Connell has beaten him. But that's your only thing. But I'm not saying, but this video isn't your favorite team will miss the playoffs unless you're the Chiefs or Bengals. We don't know what's happening in that receiving core. There's a chance that you are Jamar Chase and Yoshi Bosch. Yoshi Vosh is a guy that most people don't know because T. Higgins might be out and Tyler Boyd is not on the team currently, and they are not making efforts to try to bring him back. Joe Mixon is gone, DJ Reed, one of your best defensive players, is gone, and the offensive line is still bad. And you came last year. Now you could say, oh, it's because of Joe Burrow's injury. You guys were bad in division play, even when Joe Burrow was healthy. And Joe Burrow has been able to stay healthy. People like to talk about Tua's injury history. Joe Burrow has 2 season-ending injuries, and an injury this year that obviously bothered him. And the Bengals, they do this weird thing where they like to start 1-3, 2-2. You can't do that. You can't do that and then expect to just win out the rest of the year. That's not going to fly in the AFC. You will miss the playoffs if you start off slow because it is a race of endurance. You have to start fast and you have to finish fast. And that is what my biggest fear of the Bengals. They won't start fast. They'll finish fast, and they'll finish 9-8, being one of the hottest teams in the league, and miss the playoffs. And as much as this one hurts to try to justify, I know it's true. The Texans might miss the playoffs next year. Now, obviously, every team I mentioned can all miss the playoffs, except KC. That's the whole point of the video. This one hurts, because like everyone, we're bandwagoning Houston. We're rooting for Stroud. We want it to all go perfectly. This team was one drop pass away from completely missing the playoffs, and I feel like that completely changed their perception of a team. Obviously, the Diggs trade. Diggs is coming off one of the worst stretches of games in his career. He hasn't had a touchdown since Thanksgiving. It was a really bad stretch. There's no exaggerating it. He played really bad during that stretch of games. Not really bad. He played below average. And then you combine that. Are you really expecting Nico Collins to repeat a 1,300-yard year? That's a lot to ask for, especially if a guy that we all thought was on his way to getting replaced by Marv before the season started. And I like Tank Dell, but I expect him to return to full health. He completely snapped his leg. They still have no run game, and the interior offensive line is so weak. And I love the defense. I love what they've done. The double edge rusher duo. I love that. It's a winning formula. Who else is there besides Derek Stingley? You have Jalen Petrie and Derek Stingley in the secondary, but you can easily pick them up. And I feel like people are going to realize that you can pick the other guy on the other side. Obviously, you can draft someone, but where they stand in the draft, they don't have a pick till the second round. There aren't many corners in the second round by then. They would have to trade back into the first round. So yeah, I hate that I had to justify this, but I didn't make the video. Your favorite team will not make the playoffs unless you're Houston or KC. It's unless you're Kansas City. And that's the truth. Every single one of these teams can miss the playoffs. And fans don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that my team missed the playoffs because I think we're so talented. But so is the rest of the AFC. And thank you all for watching. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and notification bell. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.